I have with me Miss Mary and Mark Shapley, and we are going to highlight another Mississippi small business success story today, which it all started back in 1985. Mark, which I was coming in was thinking that's almost as old as I am.
Thanks for reminding us.
I was trying to do the math, and I was like, man, Shapley's is M.M. Shapley's is almost 40 years old. So congratulations just on almost reaching 4 decades with a dining experience here in Mississippi, which I know there was a pause in that, but the name has been around for almost 40 years. Okay, so let's go back to 1985. What was the dining dream when you two were sitting around thinking about creating a restaurant? What was swirling around in the Shapley brain?
Rebecca, it goes back, since I was a kid. Something about the cooking and entertaining and being with people. It was just always intriguing to me. When I met Mary back in '84, she had not had this crazy dream, but anyway, she signed on with me prior to going back in. So when we did get in and started talking about it, I think she started getting more enthusiastic about it. So it was a great opportunity for us at the time. We were young and foolish and didn't know any better, so it seemed like it worked out.
That's a good recipe for a restaurant, right? Because that entire industry is kind of crazy, and it's hard to predict and definitely unpredictable, and where the last 40 years took you. Okay, Mary, you married a chef. Was that strategic? Were you like, I'm going to find me a man that can cook? Because that's what I think young girls should put at the top of their list. Can he cook beyond a steak? But what was it like being married or falling in love with someone who could cook or had these crazy ideas for the restaurant?
Well, I didn't really even realize it because we were just dating at the time. So that was just his dream to open up a restaurant. He was like, let's just do this together. So we were literally just dating, and then, proceeded to open up the restaurant in October and then got engaged in December. So it was that was just an added thing that he could cook. So.
They say
I
the
knew
first
he loved it.
year of marriage is the hardest, but I would say opening a restaurant together would probably, test the best of relationships. But it seems that you guys, you figured out, you made it click. I'm always interested when you open a restaurant, when it comes to the menu. I mean, there's a restaurant's dime a dozen, and trying to be unique, which every chef looks at a recipe or looks at flavors or look at menu items as, as art, right? It's a blank canvas. So, Mark, when you were thinking about what M.M. Shapley's would be, like where its niche would be, what would be remembered for? I mean, what were the dishes that were coming to mind?
It's odd. When we first opened up, we really had kind of a very small menu, but it was kind of balanced. And we had a lot of Italian food. We had some seafood, and we had steaks. Every market's different, and I think it's one of the things we had to learn as young business people is just because your dream is to head in a certain direction, it doesn't always end up in that direction. You got to listen to your customers, you listen to your market and your clientele and what they tell you they want, and they told us they wanted a steakhouse ultimately. So we kind of dropped our Italian food and some of the other things we had and really focused more on broadening our offerings of steaks and things like that. So
that feels like a lot of pressure, right? Because everybody has their own opinions on steak.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's one that you're probably going to pay a little bit more when you come in to get a good steak. So you have that kind of, added level of anticipation. So how did Shapley say we're going to have the best steak possible? What goes into that?
We growing up with Mom and Dad, both were really good cooks. Dad was a particularly talented cook. He was kind of off the cuff. He could kind of go into the pantry and just throw something together, and it just came out great. And that's kind of where I really gravitated toward enjoying cooking and entertaining and things like that. I guess we always learned that if you're going to do it the right way, do it the best way, and do it if it meant spending more money on your raw product, then that's what you did and stuff. So we kind of learned early on that that's kind of if you're going to do it, go in that direction. And again, to stand out, you had to do something unique. You had to do something above and beyond what others have done, and that's what Shapley's at the time when it opened in '85. there really wasn't a lot of competition in Jackson.
Where was your location? I was going to say, where was the first location or the original location?
Our original location was at the very back end of Center Street on Center Park Shopping Center. And it was very, we laughed, Mary and I there'd be many a night because Center Street dead-ended right at our location. And so it didn't even go all the way through to Ridgewood. So it was kind of a destination. If you wanted to come, that's kind of where you're coming. So early on, it was really, we would sit back, and it was kind of lean at certain times, so we would just stare out the window, and if we saw some lights coming, we got excited because we knew they had to be coming to us or they were lost, one of the two. So anyway, but that was our first deal, and it was a small place. We had, let's say, I guess our original place was just over 2,000 square feet, and we had like 70-something seats in it at the time. So it started off small, but it was really a fun place to be. It gravitated toward a lot of the locals and families, which were tremendous support to us and stuff. So that was always kind of fun.
So, Mary, you both grew up in the Delta, correct? Or met? Mark, you grew up in the Delta.
I grew up in Greenville.
You grew up in Greenville, which sort of had that Delta entertainment flair for you. Mary, where'd you grow up?
In Jackson.
So you grew up in Jarrett's, and that's where y'all sort of met. And it feels like with Shapley, another thing that sets it apart is sort of that customer service as well as the environment of entertaining. You feel like you're in a Southern friend's home, right? And that's the best place to have a steak. It's the best to be with your friends and sort of feel comfortable, but yet there's that elevation with a little bit, in terms of going out to eat. You probably wear a little bit nicer shoes than you would to your friend's house. But you definitely have that like friend feeling, right? Like that fellowship of just hanging out with friends. Was that very important to you guys
I
to kind of keep
critical.
it? Or did it come natural with just your service and your employees and then the atmosphere you created?
It's a critical component to succeeding in what we do right now, particularly it's a very competitive market. And I mean, dining is so much more than eating. You want to make an experience for people. They need to feel comfortable. They need to feel appreciated. They need to feel like they're going somewhere special other than just having something at home. And that's what we really try to do. And it's part of our personality. I mean, we are people that do this for a living are pleasers. You know, I mean, let's face it. If you're in this business, you're doing it for a reason because it's not a sane business. You have to do something that makes you want to make people happy. You want to make people feel comfortable. You want to make them enjoy their evening, and that's just kind of the culture that good restaurant people try to do. So it is different, but it is also important that component be part of what we do on a daily basis.
And I think anyone who has been in the restaurant industry or knows a loved one who has, Mark, knows that it's tough to raise a family and also have a successful, nonstop, crazy, insane, business that's, you want it to be popular in wherever a destination, but there's ups and downs that come with that. So in 98, Mary, there was a decision that was made to maybe press pause on Shapley's and the restaurant to turn and focus on your growing family, which I find extraordinarily courageous. How did that conversation come about?
Well, our younger daughter, we have two girls, but our younger daughter was born in 94. And once she, was welcomed into the world, I stayed at home, and then Mark was at the restaurant for the most part. And, I guess during those years, because we sold when she was 3, we realized that, we were just separated, and it was either find somebody to raise our children and, or both of us raise our children. And it just kind of worked out that the opportunity, came in 98. We sold the business and just were blessed to stay home and raise the girls and be there for them. So it was...
It sounds like it was such an easy, which I'm sure it was an easy decision, but it still had to be a hard decision. Mark, this was your dream. This was your first baby to be, together, right? Before you even said I do, and it was going well. Most people don't walk away from something that's going well. So, what was it about prioritizing your family that just mattered more to you?
Rebecca, it was a simple decision. We loved the restaurant. We loved what we did. We loved the people involved in it. All that was great. But one day, my youngest daughter, Elizabeth, I remember picking her up, and she just started crying because she just didn't know who I was. And I never saw her because I was gone. she was asleep during the day, and I was gone during the day and gone at night. By the time I came home, it just that circle just never stopped. And I just remember telling.
Well, the circle came to an end, but only for a little bit, and Shapley's reopened. Yep. We're going to get to the rest of the story and more coming up next.
Good.
We're finding out more about Mark and Mary Shapley's story. They opened the original restaurant in '85, but sold in '98 to be with family. And then 20 years, you guys raised two beautiful girls. And all right, which one raised their hand and said, I want to go back in business?
Well, it wasn't Mary.
Well, I was going to give you the opportunity to say.
The timing was right. When we were talking before the break when Liz, the youngest one, I just didn't know her and she didn't know me, and it really was I remember looking at Mary because prior to that we had a young man that worked for us that ended up buying the restaurant. He just said, I'd like to buy in. And I said, I really don't want a partner, but the day will come when, at the right time, right, we'll see. But, you can just buy it and see. Anyway, that day came, and I told Mary, I said, it's time. I'm not going to have my children not knowing who I am, and it's not putting the burden on you to raise two girls by yourself. So we put the deal together quickly, and we were out of there. And then 20 years later, when all the agreement kind of expired, they left, and I just told Mary I had just a soft spot for Shapley's. The idea of Shapley's going away, I don't know, I just couldn't be happy about it. So we own the property, and I said, let's give it a shot. The kids are grown now; they're all have their own lives. I said, now's a good time to do it, and it was a good time. So,
and what year was this?
This was in 2018.
So 2018, 2 years before a global pandemic.
Oh yes, a year before the pandemic we got back.
A year before the pandemic, you got back into it. Mary, was it a hard decision for you to let him go back to the first love? I mean, you raised your two daughters, even though you knew the time. Because most folks, once they become empty nesters, it becomes now we're going to travel, we're going to do all these things together. And Mark's
Don't remind her about all that.
Mark's like, let's go back to square one. I mean, nobody would hold it against you if you were like, ugh. But here we go.
Here we go. That's right. Well, we do say this isn't what we thought we'd be doing at this time of our life, but, it's a wonderful thing that we're able to do it, and we've reconnected with some old friends, met new friends, and just continued the friendship of ones that we've been in touch with over the years. So it's a blessing. It was kind of a teamwork. It's like, I knew this was his. He was really not pushing it, but more of the one that said, and I'm on board. I said, we'll do it, and so just
and see what happens.
Pick up where we left off. Yes.
What was the first day back in the saddle like when it was officially back? Mark and Mary coming back home. It's like moving back home. It feels very odd.
It really was. It was kind of an interesting deal. We changed the place up. It needed some love and attention. So we had some great people that stepped up and helped us get through all the renovations and getting it back open. We put together probably the best team we've ever had from a staffing standpoint. I mean, it was just we were really blessed to pull these people together the way we did. So that was good. And just getting back into it, it took us a little while to kind of get our sea legs back. I mean, that was just serving people is a process, and when we were kind of overwhelmed with how popular it was coming right back in. So now it's gotten to be kind of old hand again. It's just we've got our routine, we know what to do and stuff. So, but it was interesting.
What did it feel like to have the same faces coming in that supported you in '85 as customers? They're back now in 2015, I'm sure, with their kids, potentially grandkids.
Well, and it is funny, Rebecca. We're kind of on a multi-generational now. I mean, the people that first came in when Mary and I came in, Mary was, I guess when we opened, I was 25, she was 22. I'm 62 now. So, I mean, we truly have seen several generations come through. Which is kind of cool. So we're the grandchildren of the people that used to come in when we opened back in '85. So that's kind of fun. So we are reconnecting with a lot of that type of old relationship.
And does the market still tell you they just want a good steak?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, they try to. This is what they're here for. We have. I think our seafood is as good as anything in town. And we sell a lot of it, but it doesn't compete with what we do just on all of our steaks.
Which is part of that is your seasoning, your Shapley's seasoning, I have to say, which before you guys came here on Good Things, I mean, we use it in the Turner house all the time. We've been using it for years, just really never made the connection. Someone had gifted it to us, and then when you like what you like, you just keep sort of using it. So when did that become a thing? When did y'all start realizing you had something special with your seasoning?
When we opened up in '85, we kind of concocted this formula from something that we used to use a lot back when my dad was cooking. We just kind of shifted a few ingredients here and there, and we got a guy out of Dallas at the time. There was a seasoning spice company that put it together for us, and then when we came back into this deal, we had the same formula, so we just gave it to this group here, Reed Food Technologies here in Pearl, and they put it together, and they just did a great job. So I mean, that was just kind of one of those things that we just always did. There was no sense in changing it. It really worked well, so we just kind of kept.
What all do you put it on at the restaurant?
Sadly, we just put it on everything. I mean, it really is just kind of a consistent flavor throughout everything. We do it in all of our sauces, all of our fishes, all of our, anything that we, really just about anything. Again, we get it 500-pound bags in bulk, and that's just what we do. We don't use salt and pepper as much as we use. That's what we use. So it goes in everything. It goes in everything.
Mary, are you a fan of the seasoning? Do you use it at home, or is it like, no, that's for the restaurant?
No, we use it at home.
That's when you know it's a winner, right? That's when you don't separate church and state. It's like, okay, we can bring this on into the home. I'm interested, though, if you guys were going in for a night out at Shapley's date night, because it's a wonderful place to take your loved one for something special and the family. What does Mary order?
I get a steak. I love a filet. That's my go-to. We don't get to sit down very often, but when we do, I'll get the filet.
What do you eat with your filet?
Pasta with white sauce. Of course, the French fries.
Yeah, crab meat.
French fries are good. French fries are good. That's when you know you've got a good Mississippi woman when she will say French fries with her filet. I mean, that's and you have a good French fry on your hand too when you want to have French fries with your filet. Okay, Mark, what are you ordering from Shapley's?
I'm a steak guy. I eat steak when I go out to other places. I know it sounds crazy, but that's just what I like.
Oh, do you compare yours?
No, I really don't. I just like eating. It doesn't matter. I'll always get. I'm a heavier beef guy. I like the New York strip and the ribeye. I like that type of texture better, and the marbling better than the filet. But again, fillets are 10-to-1 over everything else that we sell.
Well, business hasn't always been easy, even though it's been fun. And it seems like the Shapley's name's been successful for almost 4 decades now. And you took back over the business in 2018 when, the sky probably felt like the limit for most of us. Yeah. And then, 2 years later? Boom! And, we've talked so often here on SuperTalk just about the hit that restaurants took, small businesses took.
Yeah.
Were you both just blinking your eyes like, what in the heck happened here?
Actually, I blamed it on Mary. I said, why did you let us get back into this business? I told you this was a bad idea.
And then you blinked your eyes at him, didn't you, Mary? Like, yes, right. You not remember that conversation?
Rebecca, the whole thing was so surreal. I remember when the mandated closure came. And I prior to that, I just remembered the panic in the air, people just freaking out about everything. And I remember sitting down with our staff and saying, okay, guys, I don't know where this is going, but we're going to continue to do the best we can. Just, just be prudent, be safe, watch yourself and stuff, and just kind of let's do what we're supposed to do. Business has started dropping off because folks were just freaking out about everything. It was just really bizarre. And then shortly after, I think we had the meeting with the staff, and like 3 days later, the mandate came to shut down. So we paid everybody, I think, for a couple of weeks and said, y'all just go home. And then it became evident it was better for them to go on unemployment than with all the supplementals that were being issued. So they did that. So when we came back, after the 7 weeks was up, we were closed for 7 weeks. We didn't do takeout because, frankly, our menu doesn't lend itself to takeout food very well. When we got back in, thank God, all the staff came back, so they were ready to go back to work. So we were good, but it was a different deal, with dealing with everything. But most of our people came back that were fine. The whole thing was just an odd deal, but thank God it's behind us now.
It's behind you, and now you're looking forward to the future with Shapley's in 2022. We're going to get to that and more coming up next. And you will see we're getting more of the Shapley story. We have Mark and Mary Shapley with us. If you've been following along, they opened the original store in '85, but sold in '98 to raise their family. And in 2015, they took back over their name. And now they've suffered's the right word, a global pandemic and seeing things on the other side. I was just asking you because I know now most small business owners, particularly local restaurants, it's all about helping to keep their employees employed, right? I mean, it's giving them an opportunity to be able to make a living and take care of their own families. And you guys at Shapley's have got some tenured staff there. You were counting on your hands up to 4 that may have been with you since 85? Yeah.
Oh, no, so not since '85. We actually, we came back when we transitioned back in
from 2015.
Yep. We've been blessed with some really good people. And our staff now is better than what we had 20 years ago. They're very loyal, dependable, and hardworking. Some parts of our business has been blessed with not having to worry about that. But you do have that challenge of trying to keep them intact, keep them together, because they're facing the same pressures that we are. I mean, just our cost of goods has gone up dramatically. Well, so has theirs at the grocery store and now at the gas station and stuff. So we have to be real sensitive to helping and doing what we can to kind of keep all that together with them.
And I'd asked if the pandemic would have come in y'all's first from '85 to '98 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Do you think Shapley's would have been able to weather the storm, or has your years of wisdom given you the upper hand to weather it, I guess, with more of a level head?
Rebecca, it's a great question, and I'm not real sure. I'm inclined to say that Mary and I both have handled this better than most because of our age and of experience that we've had. I was 38 when we sold the restaurant the first time, and if it happened around that time, I really don't know. I mean, our business was good. We were blessed with a good customer base, and we were profitable, but I don't know if I'd have just said, you know what, that's enough of this. We're just going to close it down. I don't know. I think now you come back into this deal with a little bit different of focus. It's a little bit more of a mission focus, that we're here for a reason other than trying to have business. We're here because we like it, but we're here because we love the people that work with us. We love being wild, it's just part of what we try to do right now.
So now business is back. I mean, for the most part, we feel like we're at least can take a big, deep breath over the pandemic. Folks are out and enjoying, their favorite restaurants again and moving about and entertainment, and all those things are great. So what still are some of those, struggles that local restaurants or small businesses are facing that maybe the average consumer hadn't connected to yet, or in terms of still trying to, weather the storm?
Yeah, the two most obvious ones are the cost of goods that we have right now. I mean, raw products have doubled in the last year, and some expected, some I think are just artificial because they can, and there's not much you can do about it. So you just kind of react the best way you can. I think the other one is labor. Labor has gotten to be a tremendous issue. It's really kind of sad. I don't really know why. I don't think we have an answer why, but the people that were working 2 years ago are apparently not working today for some reason. Mary and I, we sent out a request through Facebook and different things and different other sites. We had 2 people last week that were supposed to come by for an interview, and neither one of them showed up. I don't get it. You try to make it accommodating. You try to make it to their schedule. What's good for you? You tell me what's good for you to come by. And how about this time? That's perfect. We'll be there, and then you never see them. So it really is kind of borderline's on a crisis level, I think, in this business, in this industry, because if you look anywhere, and not just in restaurants, anywhere you look, there's help wanted signs on the front door. So I really don't know if we've created a culture of people that are just content to do nothing. I don't know what it is. I don't have the answer. But, you just do the best you can with the ones that are courageous enough to come to work and willing to do their job for what you're paying them.
And then that's, too, why here on Good Things and throughout SuperTalk, we encourage everyone to support local, shop local, think local when you think about going out for your steak or you're going out for, a night of entertainment or whatever that may be, because you really are pouring right back into the community, right?
Sure.
And it's kind of like an ecosystem in sort of that way. So from our perspective, listening to Good Things, Mark and Mary, I mean, how can we help? Show up and eat?
Well, I mean, again, just do what you just said. Just kind of support people when you can support them, and be patient with people. I mean, I have a lot of folks that you talk about. They'll go to, to a coffee shop, and it takes them 20 minutes to get a coffee. Well, there's probably one poor child back there trying to make coffee because 4 other people didn't show. Just be patient with folks. Everyone's trying their best right now. If they're at work, they're trying. If you're going to be upset at the people that didn't show up to work,
right,
to make the day better for them. But that's the only thing right now. It's just we've got to get a little bit kinder nation.
I totally agree. But we also don't need to give up on the idea of entrepreneurship or being in small businesses really are the backbone of what makes Mississippi great, what makes our country great. And thinking back to the 25-year-old Mark and the 22-year-old Mary, there's somebody out there, that's got big ambitions and starry eyes for a dream. I mean, but it seems really scary right now to maybe step out and take that risk. Yeah. Would you have taken that risk in 85 and 2022?
Rebecca, I don't know if I would have. If I would listen to somebody that was seasoned and had been through it, I'm not sure I would right now. And really, it boils down to the labor issue. It's just going to be tough. It's tough to establish, a new business, a new culture without people around. And I think until that changes, it's going to be difficult, but I do believe it's going to change. I mean, I talked with Jeff Good the other day. Mary and I had coffee with him, who's just an incredible guy, one of the most positive people I've ever been around. And we all go through the same struggles. So this is something not unique to Shapley's. This is universal with what we're dealing with right now, but it's going to get better. It's got to get better.
Someone texted in and said, "Be patient and tip well. Thank the ones who showed up to work." And I think that's that is something that we can all do. I've heard the paying it forward, where you would buy someone's coffee behind you or whatever it may be. And I heard a great perspective on that. Not that you shouldn't do that, right? But they said if they're in line behind you, they probably could afford their coffee anyway, not being disrespectful.
Sure.
Why not take that same price and tip the person who's serving you the coffee,
Absolutely.
the extra, because they're the ones who probably would need the boost or the
Right.
thank you as well. And if you're in a place in life, do both.
Well,
but it's kind of not forgetting your wait staff and your service and those in the hospitality industry when you're thinking of doing those small acts of kindness.
And that does make a big difference. Mary and I, we've done it before. We laughed. You're just going through a drive-through for a burger. I mean, just, give the guy $1, give the young girl $1 or something, and it just means, or thank them. Just thank you for being here today. And I think people have taken that for granted, that the people that are working have external forces in their lives probably going, why are you going to work? You could just sit home and you could do this and this, but they get up and they go to work. And I appreciate that. I mean, I respect them for doing that. So there's some great people out there. We just got to continue to appreciate that and applaud them for doing their job. And we'll have others will come to work eventually.
It will definitely. The tide will turn,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it will be a brighter day. Miss Mary, Miss 22-year-old Mary, back in '85. Could you believe 40 years later you would still be with the same? Well, you would be with the same chef, but the same.
She's thinking about it now. Be careful.
She's thinking about it. And the same Shapley's name still going strong.
Could I imagine that? Probably not, but I'm so glad I am. And, we're having a good time right now. We just, there's a lot of great restaurants. We just know we've just got to do our job a little bit better for people, to want to come to see us and eat with us. And so we just, we're going to hang in there as long as we can.
Hang in there and try something new. If you like steak, go out and give Shapley's a try if you never have. If you like one of the other cuisines, try another local restaurant. But I think at the end of the day, shop and eat local and tip well. And if we want to come to Shapley's, Mark, what are our operating hours?
Right now, we started closing on Mondays. Going back to the labor deal, our poor people were working 6 days a week, and we could not fill their shifts with flex positions. So we started closing Mondays, so now we're closed Sunday, Mondays. So we're open Tuesday through Saturday. We open at 5. Weekdays, we stop seating about 8. Weekends, we stop seating at 8:30 and close around 9. So.
Can you make reservations?
Oh, yes. You can go to mmshapleys.com and they have a little link on the bottom of the page, or just call us after 1 o'clock.
You can also get the seasoning there.
And you get the seasoning there.
It's good on steaks. Thank y'all so much. I'll have you back in the next 40 years, right?
I hope so.
We'll be celebrating the 80th year of MM Shapley's and good things.